want a second look.
Yeah, there's something about this one, isn't there? Familiar somehow.
We think we're stuck in a specific fragment in time, and we've been repeating that same fragment over and over again.
But the flirting's over, Sherlock. Daddy's had enough now.
Hello, welcome. You've seen it before. TV reviews, connections in mind. Star Trek Picard Season 3, the final season, has finally dropped all of its episodes on Paramount+. It is directed by Terry Malice, and it is a reunion of all of the Star Trek Next Generation cast, included Patrick Stewart, Jonathan Frakes, Brett Spiner, Gates McFadden, Maria Sirtis, LeVar Burton, and so many others. And this season, we see Picard and Riker embark on a quest to uncover a conspiracy within the Federation. And when the Federation itself turns on them, it is up to Picard to turn to his trusted former friends and crew members to band together once again to save the Federation. Now, this video review will contain certain spoilers of Star Trek Picard Season 3, as well as certain other things. I'll be doing my spoiler-free thoughts first and foremost, but just so you know, there will be some spoilers later on in this review. But first and foremost, let's get into some spoiler-free talk on Picard Season 3. Is it worth seeing? Is it better than the previous two seasons? Because if you look back at my record of reviewing the previous two seasons of Picard, you know that my opinion was the first season was a mixed bag at best. There were some decent things, but I think it really tripped and fell at the finish line. And season 2 was pretty much a dumpster fire from beginning to end. Not to say there wasn't some interesting things in there, but overall, it was a fantastic mess. So from that, I had very little expectation going to this. I was really nervous to hear that they were bringing in the new cast, like, oh, how are they going to make this work at all? But I'll tell you this, if seasons 1 and 2 were not your bag, the only way I can describe the season 3 is
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes!
Because, oh my gosh, how did they pull this off? I mean, seriously, this is just such a good season of Star Trek, and I know I've heard people say it's like, this not only this is the best season of Star Trek Picard by far, but this is probably some of the best Star Trek that we've gotten in quite a long time. And I can't help but agree to a certain degree, or at least see where they're coming from, because my gosh, they pulled out all the stops here, and not only do they bring back all of the main cast of Picard, of Star Trek Next Generation, but they trimmed up the story to a point where there's very few side quests. Everything, what side quests there are integral to the story as a whole. The story, the episodes, or I refer to them as chapters, but I believe the episodes refer to them as chapters, but each chapter is cut precisely well enough where you get a good chunk of story, you get decent, procedure of what the mystery is and how it's unfolding, and by the end, each chapter, you feel, instead of the previous two seasons where I'm like, all right, where are they going with this? Where are they going with this? Where are they going with this? I feel like every single chapter was like, well, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? How are they going to get out of that? Or are they going to survive? What's going to happen? And I miss that about Star Trek. And in serialized Trek, which is fairly new, really the only examples are New Trek and later up, the Dominion War arc of DS9 and the Xindi arc of Star Trek Enterprise. But really, we're talking about, in New Trek, Discovery is serialized, Picard's been serialized, Prodigy, I believe, was serialized, but Strange New Worlds was more episodic. But that being said, with Discovery, they're interesting, but I've yet to feel in this new Trek era a season of Star Trek where I'm like, all right, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? Instead of, all right, where are we going with this? Let's see where we're heading here. And that's the main difference with this episode. And I just got to hand, mad props to the writing staff and the production staff for not only, the sets look gorgeous for one, and there's a lot less, weird CGI set design and pasting over things. There is definitely some of that, but nowhere near as much as previous seasons. Because at the core of this, for one, they knew where to invest their CGI, and there's a couple scenes specifically near the end. And no spoilers, but they know where to invest their CGI, their effects budget. But really, at the heart of this season is character drama, and this season knows how to capitalize on the relationships that have been cultivated over years of on-screen time, but then also of the relationships that these characters have had off-screen that we only know about because of what they talk about in the story, but it's also playing into the fact that the fandom has been living with these characters for 30 plus years, and these people are invested in these characters, and the writing knows that the fans are invested, and it cares about them. It gives them emotionally satisfying arcs. It brings all of them back in, and it's not superfluous in any way. It trims down the fact of characters who just kind of pop up and don't do anything for them. Every single character has a reason for being there, and that's what I think this season does extraordinarily well. And I just, not only just the original characters from Next Generation, but also, newer characters, such as we get to see the captain of the USS Titan A, which is Captain Liam Shaw. He is such a great character who we get to see we get to dive into him. He kind of plays this character as the grizzled veteran who is chafing at the new generation, so to speak, and also chafing at his present generation. But it has to adapt to that. That's again, he's not a villain. He's an antagonist for a lot of it, and he's such a great character and such a great addition to that. And we also have great callbacks in this season that are more than just, hey, remember this? Hey, remember this? Not all of them. There are definitely some that are like that, but the majority of the callbacks in this season are meaningful to character development, play a bigger part in the story that we're actually telling currently, and they give emotional payoff as the story progresses. And it's all these things that make me think, finally, how did it take 2 more seasons to get this right? And people say, you get people who are asking if someone's getting new into Star Trek, and they say all right, I'm trying to start the Next Generation. Are there any key episodes that I should watch? Most people will say, you can more or less skip the first 2 seasons of Next Generation. There are a couple of great episodes in there, but for the most part, those are really rough. It's really in season 3 where things really get going and quality bumps up dramatically. I agree with that sentiment, and in this season, I'll go one better. Star Trek Picard season 3. The fact of the matter is, you really don't need to know that much about what happened in the previous 2 seasons. Pretty much all the other things that happened in the other 2 seasons that are essential knowledge for what happens in season 3, you can sum up in the first episodes, previously on, and it wouldn't go over a couple minutes. That's what I'm talking about. So, for my money, this season is the entirety of Star Trek Picard. Seasons 1 and 2 never happened, as far as I'm concerned. So, with that being said, if I was going to give Star Trek Picard season 3 a letter grade, I would say it is a solid A. I wish there was a half. I'll give it an A with a perpendicular mark, a half plus. I can't give, A plus to me is considered, I'd call it perfect or close to it. There are a couple things that bump it down, that tarnish it slightly, in my opinion, and they're more personal nitpicks. No judgment on the overall quality, but yeah, I would say this is definitely some of the best Trek out there. So those are my main spoiler-free talk on Picard Season 3. Now let's get into some spoiler talk as to certain plot developments and character arcs that may seem familiar to you and where you may have seen them before. Now, there are a couple things, some things are more obvious than others, and first off, I think, going chronologically, I think one of the main things that I noticed right away was the character of Jack Crusher, which Ed Spilliers, I didn't recognize him at first, but apparently he played Aragon in the Aragon movie from 2006, which I hated that movie. I think it was a terrible adaptation of the books, but I think he did a good job in that movie, and I'm glad he's finally gets this to get a little bit of comeback in his career. I'm really glad for that, but we get his visions of what's going on. It's like, oh, he's got these weird, we're not sure if he's seeing this, in his see like a visual hallucination, or it's like it's a representation in his mind. All I could think of was Will Byers' visions of the Upside Down from Stranger Things. You got the red vines going on, and then you got the mysterious red door. It all just screams Stranger Things to me on that front. But overall, I mean, great character. I wish that we could have gotten more hints as to what was going on with Jack earlier in the season, because I feel like the reveal of Jack being associated with the Borg happened very quickly in this season, and it's the last, two and a half episodes, and I feel like if they had started dropping more hints that Borg were involved, maybe episode 4 or 5, then maybe that would have worked a little bit better. But yeah, that's one of my personal nitpicks on this. I thought that the Jack storyline got the main conflict of Jack got introduced really quickly, and that got wrapped up really quickly by the end anyway. So there's that. Hopefully, in the all but guaranteed spin-off at this point, judging by that teaser at the end of the season, we'll get more depth into that. And then all right. So first of all, the reveal of the ships. Number 1, the USS Titan A, the Neo Constitution class. Gorgeous design. I love that thing. It is the correct blend. It's like a blend of Excelsior and the Constitution refit and like an Ambassador class ship. And I mean, it is gorgeous. And I loved the fact that, it's there. And I love that that's the new design for the majority of the season. I didn't remember this in the trailers, and they kept the reveal close to their vest, it seems. The reveal of the Enterprise D. Again, this could have been such a cheesy reveal, but it makes sense of the story. The set looks great, and it plays to emotional payoff later on in the finale. So great job incorporating the D, and great job on the detail, including the burn marks on the front of the saucer section to indicate that's where has a callback to Star Trek Generations, where the saucer section is crashing up Viridian 3. That's made me think of Fast and Furious 6, where Dom and the crew are facing a very technologically advanced rival crew, and their fancy cars, their more modern cars, get hacked, and get run off the road or whatever. It's like, all right, we can't use these modern cars that are, they're hooked up to the internet or whatever. We have to go old school with this. And then they have to go find, classic cars like, 69 Mustang or, Plymouth Superbird, Camaros. The Enterprise D is basically the Plymouth Superbird of the Star Trek universe at this point. And I love it. I love that fact. But I will say, not slightly related to this, while the Enterprise D looks fantastic in its modern in its modern form, the modern digitized, environment, there's one aspect of this callback to the Next Generation that I was not a fan of, and that is when Will and Worf, and I believe Rafi, were breaking into the Daystrom Institute's annex or whatever, trying to free Data, or they realize it's Data, but they're the hologram of Moriarty is whistling something, and Riker realizes that it's Pop Goes the Weasel that Data was whistling when he first meets Data at Encounter at Farpoint. They put in footage from Encounter at Farpoint that cleaned up fine. Yes, they did digitize the digital restoration of the footage for the Blu-ray sets for Next Gen. That's fine. My problem is, why did it have to be in widescreen? It looks so distracting, and maybe that's just me, but Next Generation was not presented in widescreen. It was not, I don't believe it was shot in widescreen, or it was not shot with widescreen in mind. It was shot for the 4:3 aspect ratio of the 1980s. And when you crop it to make it widescreen, it makes me think of, the outcry that people had with The Simpsons when it was first dropped in Disney Plus, and they were all forced to be widescreen, and yet when you force it to widescreen, you're cropping it down and you're missing a whole bunch. Granted, in that scene, there's not much to crop out except for, I think, like a holographic tree or something, but it just looked so distracting to me, and that was another reason why, again, personal nitpick of mine, I did not like that at all. And really, that shot was pretty unnecessary. I mean, also, you could have left that footage in 4:3 and missed nothing, and you could have kept and had Riker have that realization, or you could just have left it out and then hardcore fans would know what it is, or you just have a line dialogue explaining that that's what it was. Again, nitpicks aside. The Enterprise, use of the Enterprise D, fantastic on that. And finally, leading into that, I'm sure I'm not the only one to note this, but the finale with the Enterprise D flying into the super cube or whatever, and flying into it, weaving and dodging, and then having to fire torpedoes at a glowing energy sphere at the center of it that will blow it up. I mean, how can you not think of Return of the Jedi at that point? I mean, come on. For those of you who saw Return of the Jedi when it came out in theaters for its 40th anniversary again, hope you enjoyed it. But yeah, how can you not think of that for that scene? But really, those are my main points of comparison. And like I said, I brought up some nitpicks on that, but they're more personal nitpicks of mine, and they don't diminish the overall quality of this season, which, as I said, is, my gosh, how could they pull this off? How did it take seasons 1 and 2? Again, I'm sure people ask the same questions with the Next Generation. Like, seasons 1 and 2 were probably not fantastic. I'd have to go back and look at the ratings for that. But once season 3 came up, yes, this is what we thought we were going to get. How did it take you this long to figure it out? Well, they figured it out, and they figured it out in flying style. So those are my points. That's my review of Star Trek Picard Season 3. What did you think of the season? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What about my analysis? Do you agree, disagree? Did I miss something? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. Be sure to look for my next TV review, which will be for The Mandalorian Season 3, which I should be putting up here shortly. As well as my next movie review, which will be for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which comes out this week. And if you like this video or any other video on my channel, please give me a like, share, and especially subscribe. I would very much appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for watching. Just remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.